It's time for another Dice Tower review from Gamers Remorse.
Hello and welcome back to Gamers Remorse. Today we're taking a look at a new game, Tides of Time by Portal Games. We actually just got back from Gen Con and we are excited to review this puppy today.
Yeah, it was one of the games that I definitely wanted to pick up, but I managed to find a copy, and I could not buy it. Tides of Time is a two-player game by Portal Games designed by Christian Kurla. Each player is dealt 5 cards from the 18-card deck. The remaining 4 cards are set aside for now. Each player takes the 5 cards they were dealt, picking one of the cards and putting it face down on the table. The other 4 cards they will pass to the opponent across from them. In unison, they will reveal the card that they picked, taking it as their own. This will repeat until each player has 5 cards set in front of them. Each card has a suit, a name, and an effect. Each card will be scored individually based on the effects playing off of the suits of the other cards in their kingdom. For example, the player who has played the majority in magic cards, if they have more magic than the other opponents, will receive 5 stars. Other cards, such as the Ancient Divide, will receive a player 7 points if they have the majority of the strongholds in the game. Each card has various effects that play off of the various either suits or combinations of suits, earning you different amounts of points. Some cards earn you no points, but will aid other cards in earning more points. Once each player has totally scored their points, each player will take the 5 cards they have picked back into their hand. Each player then will take up the 5 cards, picking 1 to keep and 1 to discard. The card they are choosing to keep, they will put a Relic of the Past token on. The one they are discarding will leave tokenless. Each player will then flip over the 2 cards, revealing what they chose. The card with the token will have the token placed on the face of it, while the other card will be discarded and returned to the box. Each player will then be dealt an additional 2 cards into their hand. Play will then resume as the previous round, with each player taking a card and then passing the hand to the adjacent player. As before, each card will be scored individually before being added to the previous score total. After this round has been scored, each player will again return all the cards without the Relic of the Past token to their hand, placing down 2 cards again. Again, each player reveals the cards chosen, keeping the relic on the placed card. The other card again being discarded to the box and removed from play. The remaining 4 cards are dealt to the players, each one receiving 2. As in previous rounds, each player will draw a card and then pass the cards to the other player. Once again, players will tally the scores on each of the cards individually, adding those to the 2 previous rounds, giving them their final score. The player with the highest score total wins. So let's kind of look at this game. First, what can you tell me about the look and the feel, John?
Overall, it's very aesthetically pleasing. Each of the cards are obviously their own artwork, Backgrounds are kind of this abstract, kind of cool thing. I don't even know how you describe it. But anyway, the artwork's very beautiful. The iconography fits very well. It's not the regular 2-dimensional icons that I think you would see on most games. It's actually 3-dimensional. And usually that bothers me, but it actually didn't detract too much. It's just a little bit around the edges, and there's some shading here and there, but it's gorgeous. The fonts overall are pretty good. The ones that describe where you're at is actually flavor text, so it doesn't matter that much anyway. But they use this cursive font that's a little difficult to read, but then when you get into it, it's like, it doesn't really matter anyway. And maybe that's the intent, is to say, I have this text here, it's for fun, it doesn't really matter. But overall, gorgeous, gorgeous cards. They used a white border around the edge, kind of bringing back that old feel of older games, it's not full bleed. But other than that, it fits in this small card box. It's only, 18 cards?
Yeah.
Which is kind of ridiculously
18
small.
cards and 4 tiles.
It reminds me a little bit of Citadels in regards to that. Citadels is this real small package, one of those Fantasy Flight small box games. Well, this is a Portal small box game. Overall, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, and I completely agree. On the car back from Gen Con, I took it out, I opened it, I started reading the rules. And like he mentioned, the only, not even a detriment, but the name of the locations at first was difficult to read. I was like, oh, really? Then I was like, wait, I can read all of them. Like, it's not difficult to read, it's just at a far. It's not a super legible font, but it's fantastic. I really liked that. I'll talk about balance and mechanics a little bit. It's balanced perfectly. It's card drafting. You pick a card, you pass it. You pick a card, you pass it. So you are working with almost the exact same pool of cards, and it just slowly gets smaller, just like Seven Wonders, just like any Magic draft. I mean, it self-balances in that regard. You have to actively be the one that alters that. And I made some mistakes that messed me up in that area. But after that first round, there's what I like to call a Feldian snap. A lot of Stefan Feld games, it's kind of complex, but all of a sudden it just snaps and everything makes sense. This had that right after that first round. It's like, oh, that's what I should have been doing this whole time. And so future games going on, I'm able to act accordingly. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. It has that Feldian snap, if you will. Obviously not a Stefan Feld game, but still had that feeling of, aha, I know what to do. But yeah, overall the mechanics are pretty well balanced, and this is a 2-player game, right?
Correct.
Which has more balance than I would argue Seven Wonders. Because Seven Wonders, if the guy over there and you're playing a 7 game has an awesome hand, by the time it gets to you, there's only 2 cards left that are any good. So you kind of get hosed that way sometimes. And this 2-player game, so you're just constantly swapping. So the balance is nested in the mechanics already.
Yeah. And also with it being 2-player, how do you think that impacted the pacing of the game?
It made it really fast. I mean, there's only 2 of you, and if one person has analysis paralysis, I'm sure you can bludgeon them into passing you the cards.
And you can just keep tapping the cards that you're done with until they're like, ah!
Yeah, exactly. And in some games, on the flip, you're like, oh, I don't really care what you're doing. I'm playing my own solo game. In this game, it directly impacts you.
Correct.
So I see that you're going to profit off of Magic. Well, now I'm trying to grab all the Magic cards that I can.
Yeah. I mean, it has an estimated playtime of 20 minutes, and I would argue that's on the long end. Even learning the game, we went quite quickly, and those most AP moments are when you're down to 2 cards, and it's like, if I give him this one, he'll get 30 points.
Right.
If I give him this one, he'll get 15 points, but I'll get nothing. And so it's kind of, how do I do? Because all the information is shared information.
Right.
Which I think is fascinating. Let's get easy to learn. I'll cover that. I think this is a very simple game to learn. I mean, I learned it in a car. Right. And then we came back, and I was able to teach it in probably 30 seconds. I mean, you just have to say card drafting. Most people will know what that means. If they don't, you say, you take a card, and then you trade decks. I explained card drafting.
Right.
And then when you explain the cards, just take a couple of them out, explain what happens. There's a great how to play that the rules will actually take you to. There's a QR code, and it'll take you to a watch it played. Or Rodney does a great explanation of the rules. Do you agree, disagree? How did you feel as the person being taught the game?
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. I got it almost instantly. Mind you, I've played Seven Wonders, so it plays a lot like that. In regards to the drafting mechanic, obviously, some of the things that didn't make sense was the Feldian snap, I keep stumbling over that, it's horrible. Yeah. Anyway, the snap, right? Because I didn't understand, the chaining, and then that chains there. But again, after that first round, it's like, I get it. Okay. Yeah. Let's keep playing, which goes into replayability, which is our other thing we like to talk about. This is absolute replayability because every time you're playing, there's going to be different choices based upon what hand was originally dealt to you, and then whatever strategy you're going for is going to directly impact what I'm doing. Yep. So the replayability is all the way up there in regards to that.
Which kind of surprised me. I was thinking with 18 cards, how replayable can it be? And I mean, I believe the MSRP is $12. Right. And so if you say play per $1, like, I've already got my money's worth after just a couple plays. But I mean, this is a game. It's a 2-player game. It's really quick. You can play it while you wait for the rest of your game group to arrive. I think it has great replayability. And then, like, once that Feldian snap happens, you're just sitting here going, oh, I need to try this combination, or I need to try that combination. You see him try something that you want to try. And with the game, one of the mechanics is after a round, you lock a card. And that's the only card you keep, and then you pick up the rest of them. You lock one, you discard one, draw 2, and the next round you use those back and forth. Lock 1, discard 1, draw 2, and your kingdom gets bigger and bigger. Right. And so there's more and more ways that you want to try to experiment with the cards at hand that I think is genius.
Oh, yeah.
But what are there any parting thoughts or anything that you think you'd like to mention as well?
For a $12 price point, it's hard to beat that. So get it, play it. Clearly, it sold well because it sold out in like the first day at Gen Con.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's $12. Go ahead and add it to whatever order you're putting in wherever at.
And they mentioned, I mean, they had the print run before it went to market. They had already put in the second order.
Yeah.
For the next print run, they knew it was going to be a hit. And again, just I mean, with the art alone, it's worth the money. It's a great game, very portable.
Yep, that's it for us.
Yeah.
Let's check out the rubric.
After the rubric, we cut, we fade back in. And just so you guys know, while we were at Gen Con, we had a chance to interview Ignacy. And so you guys can check that interview out on our channel. It'll be up by the time you're watching this. So see what Ignacy had to say about this game, as well as other games released at Gen Con.
All right. Thanks, guys. Cool. Not bad. I kind of like this better.
I don't know why.
It was fluid, and we had to like stay on our feet. It seemed more energetic too, because there wasn't like a
Yeah, and part of it is there's a clock, so I'm like,
yeah.
come on, get motivated.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.